Hi, Christine. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Omar, thanks for having me.
I
I'm
am,
excited to be here.
yes, I am super excited to have you on the show. How are you feeling today?
Excellent. Super good. I'm actually very, very good. I'm in a great place right now, so I'm excited to have this chat with you.
You're in a great place right now. Is there some sort of exciting news that you would like to share with our listeners?
No, I'm just in a really good place. I think always in life we're in periods of transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really fitting that as we talk today, we go through multiple transitions in our life and, tipping points, and they always open up new doors and new opportunities. And so every time we hit that ceiling, there's a new growth point. We go through this like yucky space that feels uncomfortable, but that's kind of like finding the beauty in that space because the floodgates are about to open up. So just been through that again for like the fourth time. So I'm excited about the floodgates to open for so many good things.
All right. Okay. Ooh, I think at some point we had a conversation about finding you a husband. So
Yes.
if you want, we can dive into that later too.
Right. Okay. Hey, well, I'm open. I'm open to anything.
All right.
Gotta have a growth mindset. Gotta have an open mindset.
Okay. Well, here's the beautiful thing of the growth mindset and everything that you just mentioned at this moment, as far as we're always transitioning, we're growing, we're
Mm,
pivoting, right? There's these things that happen in our lives, but that's actually not true. All right. It all depends on where you're at. And what you just mentioned at the end there, there's that discomfort period that we go through, and as you embark on the personal development journey, that to expect the discomfort.
yes,
The
100%.
the discomfort says I'm on the right track.
Yes, that's the
I'm un,
sign.
I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this. This is like, ugh, and
Yeah.
I'm right in that moment. I'm in that place, as a matter of fact. And so here's what you need resources, you need good people around you, you need to, change your state, there's all these things that you have to do, right? And this is where and the reason why I changed the name to the Recovery Revolution, which is
Mm,
these are the conversations I wanted to have with people that have pushed through the discomfort. Because a lot of us that are early in recovery, as soon as the discomfort comes, we go the other way.
yeah.
Instead of pushing through, we pull back. And
Back
so,
to what's certain, even though it's not a great place. We'd rather be stuck in a place we hate because we're certain of the outcome and certain of what it feels like than going into the land of the unknown. Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
no.
So for those of you listening, yes, Christine and I are in that place where we know that we have to constantly be in that place of discomfort for us to level up, for us
Hmm.
to go to the next level in whatever aspect of our business or our personal life that we're currently at. The discomfort tells us, aha, we are on the right track. And in many cases, it can give you some motivation. For me lately, it hasn't so much.
You gotta surround yourself with people who are going to remind you. I think like a huge part of it too is we know it, we expect it. It's just like a workout. It's like the easiest analogy is always using that gym analogy that somebody wants to like wake up and think, I'm going to get a great looking body, but is it going to happen with one workout? No, it's going to be hitting the gym multiple times,
Mhm.
having a few days that you're so sore that you're wondering, did somebody hit you in the legs with a baseball bat? But it's the payoff. But I think it's just not only knowing that that discomfort is there and but expecting it and leaning into it. It's like if I'm not getting it, something is wrong. Like if we're going to the gym day in and day out and we're going through the motions, what we're doing is plateauing or sliding backwards. And that's like a big red flag that if I'm not feeling a little uncomfortable, that's I should be worried. I should be significantly worried that something's not great. So it's about expecting it, leaning into it, and also actually learning to love that feeling, because we chase it in other ways anyways. I mean, when we're going to get that high somewhere else, we're still looking for that rush. but we're looking in all the wrong places, and we all know that, right? So it's expecting that and just really leaning into it and finding a, you know, some kind of joy in the moment, like really being curious about it and detaching ourselves from it.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So true. So true. And more importantly, it's this idea of like what you just said, looking for it, right?
Looking for it.
Anticipating the uncertainty, which is kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of like, it's here and I don't like it and I want to go backwards, right? And so surrounding yourself with the right people that go, no, don't go back. and they're like trying to pull you forward. Like, what can we do to help you? Because that's really what's happening. I have a mastermind group that I'm a part of. I have a personal one-on-one coach, and I'm struggling. And so I show up every week and I'm like, here's where I'm at.
Yes.
Right? And they're like, and they're over there pulling me. And it just feels like I'm at this lower level. They're trying to pull me up and I'm like just hanging there, dangling, letting my weight hang. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready.
I'm not ready. Well, I love that you brought that up. And I just want to add on to that because I think like what you said about the mastermind is so key and the people that we surround ourselves with. And it's funny that you said that about the mastermind because I just got back from a 3-day event with my group that I lead. I took them up north to a ski resort where we spent some time in the woods and some time around a fire working together through some stuff. But the first day right off the bat, what I said to the group was like, guys, you know, don't come in here and bullshit each other with sunshine and rainbows. Like, in order for this to be the most effective couple days together, we got to get raw and real. We want to celebrate what's going right. We want to support each other in that, but we also need to say like, man, I'm struggling over here and I need you guys to call me out on my own BS, you know? And I think that when we can, and help me get out of it, because sometimes it's hard to see when you're in the mud, but having somebody that isn't going to just blow smoke up your butt, you know, and tell you like everything you're doing is awesome. Like there's a lot of push right now towards positive thinking and the power of, you know, sticking happy notes everywhere. And it's like you stick this note on your mirror and you're like, be happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm actually not happy. You know, maybe you're not happy because you're freaking miserable because of your attitude, you know, and you don't want to call you out. So I think, you know, and I know I've had to have some of those conversations with some of my friends at times who actually thought they were quote unquote supporting me, but they were not being honest with me when I knew I was showing up less than I wanted to be. And I actually had to go to them and say, look, if you're my real friend, I need you to tell me, like, I need you to kick me in the ass. Show up like this. I want to know that I'm falling short because you know I don't want to show up like this. And those are those difficult conversations that we don't always want people to have with us, but are essential.
Well, because that just bleeds into enabling. At some point, just, hey, you're doing okay. You're doing great. It's a lot less effort on us. It's a lot less confrontational on us. You know, if you're worried about looking bad, right? Well, I don't want to say anything. It's just, hey, no, you're doing great, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people that will call you out and say, hey, man, you know, you look off. Something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
How can I support you in this, you know, time? Because it feels like something's going on and maybe I can help.
Mm-hmm.
And so being that support beam doesn't allow you to just kind of slip into the enabling piece, which is more comfortable for some people. And then also depending on where they're at in their own life. Because sometimes when you're surrounded with people that aren't doing so well and you're doing good, they might not be so excited about your growth. They might not be so excited about you going to the next level because they're afraid of losing you. So, man, we could tangent all over the place, but let's reel it all in. The important thing is to remember that if you're going through something that's uncomfortable right now, look at this as an opportunity that the universe is presenting you for change and growth. And then once that comes in, lean into your support group for people that will pull you up. That's really the most important piece that we're trying to kind of, you know, unwrap for you. So for someone who is where you're at, who has so many things going on, I'm going to ask you about one of the reasons why I called you on is because you were recently at Tony Robbins. Was it Money Mastery or Money?
Business Mastery.
Business Mastery. Business Mastery. And he called on you. So there's this picture of you and Tony having a moment. So I'm super excited to hear about that. But how does someone who has got masterminds and is a coach, has all these things going on, which I didn't even introduce Christine. Hold on one second. I'm like missing something here. So real fast, Christine Line Christine has been actively teaching and training in the health and fitness industry for 20 years. Her success is in helping to motivate and shape the lives of thousands. Stems from her own personal passion for health, fitness, and great food, as well as a respect for living a balanced life. As a mother of 3 and a business owner, she continues to focus on her own fitness by competing regularly in cycling, triathlons, running events, as well as constantly stepping out of her own comfort zone to try new things. So, this is what I wanted to dive into. Here's someone who is a mother of 3, has her own business, entrepreneur, is, at events. We met at an event. Was at Business Mastery, and then was recently in her own mastermind, right? And then at the same time, how does she manage to juggle all these other activities and hobbies? So what does your normal daily routine look like for someone as active as you, Christine?
Wow, that's a loaded question. But let's just say when I'm home, like you said, I'm a mom of 3. So I am a single mom of 3. So, when I'm with my kids, I'm full on there. I believe in quality, and quality time is my love language. So, we're always trying to spend tons of time together. And then when I don't have the kids is when I really am hyper focused on the work that I do. And so there is a little bit of a juggling act for sure. But daily, you want like my daily routine or just kind of like in general? What do you?
Daily routine's good.
Daily routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is really how we structure our days and our weeks, and for me, how I start my day is how I run my day. And it's how I do everything. Like that first hour, and you guys have heard this before, but if you wake up out of bed and you jump out of bed and the first thing I put into my head is some garbage from social media or some piece of news, or I read some text from somebody that pissed me off, or read an email that makes me freak out about something that happened at work, I'm just going to be in a funky, negative, pissed off, resentful and reactive state right off the bat. So I'm a big believer that it's like, I have this like image that I've got this like pack of bow and arrows. I've got these arrows on my back, and right away I want to wake up and I think about like, okay, what beautiful space do I want to put myself into so I can hunt? So the beautiful space is the practice, my morning practice. And so, I like this analogy of like a gatherer warrior. I have this thing like that I'm a warrior princess, but so I spend my first part of my morning like really bathed in reading either scriptures or books or passages or whatever it is that I'm reading at the moment. Sometimes I might be taking a course, but I always do some reading. I do a lot of time in the morning meditating and journaling. I spend a good hour really in prayer, meditation, and writing on what I've just meditated on. Because a lot of things that I want to visualize, make happen in my life, or just ask God or the universe about, I spend that time really intentional in the first part of my day, sort of setting that intention, asking for feedback, and then writing about what comes up for me. And that is like magical time where I get a lot of my answers. So really creating the space. Then I do some sort of movement, usually right now. I mean, I own a health and fitness studio. So in the past, it's been strength training and cardio and running. Right now, I'm doing power yoga. That seems to be like the thing. I'm working on my feminine energy and my flow. So I'm spending my time in flow, power flow yoga. And
is that a new thing?
What's that?
Power yoga? Is that a new thing?
No, that's been around. I mean, I don't know. I create my own power flows. I'm doing some I do some inversions. I'm practicing my powerful feminine energy right now. So I'm spending a lot of time moving my body to generate more of that. And then really, to be honest, like going back to my arrows, it's what are the things I want to shoot out for today? What are the people, the connections I want to make? What are the projects I want to move forward? So I start just shooting arrows, and I don't open anything. I don't open any emails. I don't open any social media. I don't expose myself to anything that's going to put me into a reaction mode until I shoot a bunch of arrows out. So that might be like, I'm the one sending emails, or I'm sending the, text out, but I'm not responding to anything. So I'm starting to get my game plan in motion. Because I think that's just that critical moment of how you start. Is if I start reacting to one text or one email, it's just going to lead to like a vortex of all this other crap that I'm going to deal with. So really, that's how I structure it. And then the first half of my day, I usually will only creative work or work with some of my coaching clients, because I'm like, the best of me, like the best of me gets the front half of my day, So I'm a highly creative coach, just like yourself. So if it ain't speaking, teaching, or creating, I try not to do it in the first half of my day. I try to reserve that. And then in the afternoon is when I sort of do like my work operations kind of things, or, meetings. If I have to have meetings with people on different things, I try to book that stuff in the afternoon and, get my workout in there. And then the nights when I'm home, I spend most of the time with my fam. I have 3 kids. So teenagers, I'm in the teenage phases now. Teenagers require all 3 teenagers, 2 years apart. And so there's a lot of great conversation times that need to be had at night. The good conversations about sex, drugs, opportunities, money, all these things that you want to set these guys up for success and start to get them to start self-coaching them. So try to have a lot of nighttime discussions together, chilling at home.
Boys or girls?
I have 2 girls and a boy.
Okay.
So 13, 15, and 17-year-olds. So yeah, so at night we're doing that, walking the dog, chilling. But I'm very fluid. Like I said, I'm a wander. You said, I said, you said, I'm a wanderer at heart. Like I'm all on the journey. I met you at an event in November. I've been to 2 events since we went there, and I'm about to leave next week to go to Colombia on a retreat, and Fiji at the end of the month, March. So I travel a lot for work, for exploration, for growth, and for play. Dude. So that's a huge part of my life as well.
Incredible amount of balance.
And look, I'm actually like, you can do this. This is what I want to tell people is like, you can travel, you can take care of your body, be lean, love the way you look, spend time with your family, run a business, but you got to get like super clear on what you won't tolerate in your life anymore.
That's the most important thing. It's clarity of focus and purpose, because without it, then you're no longer in control of your destiny. Everything else is. Everything's these things that come into way. Social media, it's a double-edged sword. Without social media, I would not have this platform. But now, as things get bigger, as I start to grow and expand, there's things that are important. Like you say, in the mornings, it's that time. And there's, for me, my brain works so much better in the mornings. My energy is so much higher in the mornings. So the idea of letting all the other things, like catching up with emails and any other kind of social media things, kind of go to the wayside. But what I found is more and more, the minute I go into social media, it zaps my energy.
Huge.
Do you notice that? Do you get that?
Yeah. Well, and I want to, it totally does. So, I do a ton of energy work as a health practitioner, but also with my clients with the high performance coaching. And one of the things I like to, when we talk about energies, I think it's really important that we break it down. Like, not all energy is the same. We have mental, physical, and emotional energy, and they can all affect each other. So a lot of times people think physically, like, okay, do I have the vibrancy, the energy, the strength, the stamina, the endurance to like do shit, like to get up and go? but then mental is like the bandwidth. Like, can I think clearly? Can I focus? Do I have the capacity, or am I like walking around in a fog, overwhelmed, confused, don't know what to focus on first, scattered? And emotionally is that heart energy, that feeling of like, I actually am coming from a place where I can give you love, or I can do for you without being resentful and angry and feeling like you're trying to take something from me that I don't have to give. And so, we don't realize, but your brain just uses so much of your physical energy, right? And so if we start the day looking at social media, we're already look at what everyone else is doing and accomplishing, and I'm not. So right away we throw our brain into this state of overwhelm. And emotionally it's extremely draining, because if we start off that way, we start to question ourselves, we start to question our worth, we compare our lives, we're in the comparison game, or we're listening to crap that just isn't serving us a lot of the time, which is like negative news, or, griping or commiserating sometimes. And so mentally and emotionally, we just get pulled down underwater. And physically, it's like we're trying to tread water while someone is holding on to our feet with like these two bricks. And it's like, it's tough. So, kind of going back to my comment about the arrows, I think you get in and you get out.
I love it. I think yeah, because I mean, even at night, like I try and hyper focus on what's the highest purpose. What is the highest purpose? What is the highest intention for me, for what I'm doing, for my work, right? How do I get the most out of my day? So by the time the end of the day comes and I'm kind of like chilling, like sometimes what'll happen is I'll like, okay, my day's done. I'm going to go chill, watch Vikings, whatever. And then usually when I'm watching Vikings, right, it's when I'll kind of start to scan through the social media and go, okay, is there anything here that, because if it's got my name on it, if somebody tagged me on it, I go in and kind of check that kind of a thing. And I will tell you, I've gotten to the point now where, I mean, I open it and I start and I just go, oh, I don't have it in me.
Yeah.
And it's a zapper, man. It is a zapper. You have to be mindful. And I think it also kind of is a testament to where you're at too. It wasn't always a zapper. I loved it. I'd be in the social media, as much as like, I couldn't wait to find out what was going on. Right. And now it's like, it's just that. So it's good to know that we're in the same boat. And more importantly, for those of you who want to get shit done, put that thing away. Put it away and focus on what is my highest intention? What is my purpose? And in anything, in any day, if I start my day immediately focusing on what I want to accomplish for the day, my focus is on that. Instead of, if I read something that sets me off, an email that sets me off, some post that sets me off, that's all I'm going to be thinking about in that moment. And that's what I'm going to be thinking about in the shower. And that's what I'm going to be thinking about when I'm eating breakfast. And that's what I'm going to be thinking about on the way to work. And then my digestion's going to be off and my energy's going to be off. And before I know it, it's like, why is that person so angry all the time?
And like, it's great for us to talk about purpose as coaches, because we're all about like purpose and intention. But for somebody who's starting off, they're like, yeah, great. I don't even know what my purpose is. And I'm sick and tired of you talking about yours, So, and I get that, because I have clients that I work with that are in that same spot. So one of the things I talk about a lot, I'm sure we'll dive into this in a bit, is just really like being ruthless about preserving your energy. Because the only resource 100% you have total control over is your energy. And it is 100% yours. And energy is something that needs to be generated consistently. It doesn't just happen to us. Like, we create it. If you sit on the couch, you feel like doing nothing. But if you go out, you move, you're more energized, whether you're in the, so one of the words I use a lot is this word ruthless. Like, what do I need to protect and preserve that is mine? And my energy is definitely one of those things. And the second piece is, what am I not willing to let others have control over me? And that whole idea of being reactive, in reaction mode all day, it's just about like, do you really want to let someone else have that much control over you?
No.
No, thanks. So, just baseline foundations is like, yo, this is mine. I'm protecting it. I'm ruthless about it. And number two, you ain't going to have this control over me.
It's incredible how what other people think will knock you off your game every single day.
Every single time.
For so many people, as you start to like pull back all the layers, at some point it's like, well, for what reason do you do that? And for what reason do you do that? Right. And then at some point it's like, well, I just don't want them to be mad at me. Well, I just don't want them to like not, I just want them to, and I'm like, whoa, there we are. There it is. We just want them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, it's been so long since they've been able to answer that question honestly for themselves without taking other people's beliefs or feelings into consideration, that's where much of the conflict comes in. So, wow, we're constantly deviating today. I am like, whoa, let's reel it back in.
I'm not going to distract you anymore.
Okay. No, it's going to happen. I can already tell. I'm so excited to have you because this is what's so fun. So for our listeners that are part of the recovery revolution and that tune in to find out about recovery-related stories, addiction. So we have addiction can be a driving force for so many of us. It may propel some of us towards things like drugs, alcohol, food, money, success, even our phones. So how has addiction played a role in your life and what has it cost you?
Wow, that's such an awesome question. And there was a time that I was super pissed about this in my life. I am not a recovering addict or alcoholic myself. However, I grew up with a father who was an alcoholic who, unfortunately, to this day in his late 70s, is still an alcoholic, wakes up drunk, really has no sense of purpose, hasn't had one for the last, as long as I can remember. And it just breaks my heart to see that he's still a prisoner of this disease. So in so many ways, but really as a child of an alcoholic, seeing somebody who, you remember as this, like, I remember him when we were younger being this superhero, magnificent, all this potential opportunity, VP of a company. He had really like taken himself through a lot of really hard things. And I think that, we get to that point, obviously, because we're experiencing that challenge, that trial in our life. And he did not have an easy life. He lived on his own since he was 15, abandoned by his father at a very young age. Stepdad tried to kill him. Like, it was a brutal thing, And so, like, he was enlisted in the Navy, ended up working for the government, like, ended up working with the CIA. Like, so he had been through a lot of shit, And so in someone's eyes, you could be like, no wonder you're going to drink, but you don't realize the effects it has on just destroying yourself and your family. So anyway, seeing my dad sort of go and having all this potential, overcome a lot of challenges in his life, but then become a slave to alcohol, and slowly the life that he had worked so hard to run away from, to escape, this fear of like, nobody wants me, I'm abandoned, I'm good for nothing. He overcame that in his teens and 20s and started to rebuild his life and prove that he was worthy. He made his way up to VP of the company. We lived in a great home. Like I grew up in Europe, and he had all this opportunities and potential. And slowly over time, he ended up destroying himself physically, emotionally, mentally, and taking my mom, my brother, and I for a ride through hell, basically, for many, many years. So, how it affected me is it's heartbreaking to watch someone you love go through that and see that the very thing that they fear the most is what they end up with.
Yes.
Number one, like, that's just, we try so hard to run away from it. And the very thing we run away from is the thing that we end up getting if we don't do something about it. And there's that danger of taking everyone else to hell with us. Number one. But really, for myself, for many years, I had a hate on for him in the things that I saw and the things that, how he treated me and my mom, and mental and physical stuff that we went through, and the loss. we lost our home. We lost, we had to start from ground zero. But I will say, actually, this is funny. After watching I'm Not Your Guru, I don't know how long ago that was. It wasn't a long time ago. I kind of went through this period in high school where I just hated my dad. And I was like, there is no fucking way I'll ever be like him. And I was like, I'm going to be so fiercely optimistic. No one's going to get under my skin. And I'm just going to, and I was very driven, ambitious. I got great grades. I was captain of the soccer team. I got, I was like on a mission that nothing was going to stop me. So I got this drive that was crazy, and this achievement and success and like independence that nothing could have touched me. So on that side, I was like, great. But at the same time, I never really took the time to honor the struggle that my dad had gone through. And so it wasn't until I watched Tony's I'm Not Your Guru that I actually realized, man, I gotta let some of this hate for this man go and really thank him for the struggle and give him some compassion and realize, like, man, he was doing the best he could at the time. But in order for me to really open up and grow into the person I needed to be, I needed to have some conversations with him and just go back and thank him for helping to make me the woman I am, but not be stuck in that place where I had to drive so hard anymore, because it was starting to drive me into the ground as well. So,
well, because we're either running towards pleasure or we're avoiding pain. And once you learn how to, it's almost as if, here's where I don't want to be. This is who I don't want to become. I don't want anything to do with this. And all of a sudden I pick up some momentum. I start to develop a little bit of confidence in myself. This feels good. How far away from this can I get?
Yeah. You're just like running full throttle, burning like crazy, blazing it behind you. But you don't realize that the whole time you're running away from it. If you don't deal with your own demons, you're just running and you're carrying all this shit in your backpack with you. And the weight gets heavier. And the further away from it you think you're going, the sore your knees get, the sore your back gets. And eventually you can't keep going that way anymore, because you realize I still have to heal some of the stuff from the past. But I'm so grateful that I found athletics, because I did become addicted to fitness, which I'm really grateful for, because it was that addiction to health and training and running that became my drug of choice, really, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like, hey, pick your drug of choice, one that's going to kill you or one that's going to keep you alive and help other people around you. So.
Well, I think that as far as what you mentioned when you were talking about your dad, and the idea that all of these things that he'd overcome. So he became the VP of the company, and he had these series of accomplishments, right? He was very driven.
Yeah.
Very ambitious.
Totally.
Right? Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Very driven, very ambitious.
Yeah. Always in the chase. We're chasing, right?
Right. Or running from. What are you
running
running towards, or what are you running away from?
Yeah.
And until you recognize where that drive comes from, then you could, like you say, at some point I had to kind of come to terms with, what is it that I'm doing? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? Because I just keep accomplishing, but it doesn't seem to feel like I'm there. It's always like,
you're never fulfilled. And I think
there's the word.
You're never fulfilled. You're doing all this stuff. You're checking things off your list, and you feel this big gaping hole inside. And, I remember specifically, I told you I journal a ton, I pray a ton, and I have a big spiritual practice. But, a few years ago, I said, that's it. I want to get to the point where I'm really saying yes to things, and I'm driving for things, not because I'm pissed off or angry and it's a reaction to something, or because I'm trying to prove something, but because I'm actually excited about the thing. In the past, whether it was signing up for a triathlon or a race or winning first place or scoring goals, it didn't matter if I was in athletics or chasing a business deal. It was always like, oh yeah, well, F you, I'll show you. And it was always oh, this opportunity comes up. And it was like that person that told me, you can't do that. That I was like, huh, you want to make a bet? And so I loved that challenge. But the problem was, guess who was in control? I thought I was in control. But really what I needed was something to be angry at in order to have my drive. And so the pain was in control. The other person was in control. And this actually played a huge role in my relationship. It's funny that, and this was kind of a big thing, is like, I realized a lot of the times I pushed myself to succeed. It was also because there'd be a man in my life who would try to challenge me and say, well, no, I don't want you doing that. Or you can't do that. Or why are you doing that? And I would be like, oh yeah, you want to try to tell me what to do? Well, F you, I'm going to go. And I wouldn't just like dabble. I'd be like gone, And so, yeah, I think, in some ways someone could say, oh, that's great. You're so courageous. You're so ambitious. But where is that drive coming from? And is it really coming from a place that's going to make you grow and be excited? And really like now shifting to a place in the last few years where I'm actually thrilled and excited about the life that I'm creating, because I'm designing the life I want, not one that I'm trying to run away from.
Well, I like if we're talking about the same story or the same breakthrough or intervention in I Am Not Your Guru, it's that where he says, if you're going to blame him for all the bad stuff, you got to blame him for all the good stuff.
For all the good stuff. Yes.
Blame
the
him.
one where she was talking about her dad, right? Yeah. Yeah, you got to blame him for all the good stuff. Yeah, and I remember watching that and I was like, oh man, I think I tolerated my dad, and I still talk to him to this day, and he's always the first one commenting on my Facebook posts. And Dad, if you're listening to this, I love you, and I'm just speaking the truth, raw and real, but like you put me through some shit. I still love you. But yeah, when she did that, and it was funny because right after that, I booked a trip to Florida to go talk to my dad and have this conversation with him.
Wonderful. That's where we're going. So unpack that.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, honestly, I think it was really for me more than anything else. I don't know how much it landed with him, but I think for me, it was just like, I listened to that and I was like, man, and my mom, I have the most loving mother in the world. She was always the most, and this is the second big aha of how alcoholism affected me, which was my recent experience at another Tony event. But, I lost my train of thought there. Oh, okay. But I was saying, like, when we go, and I knew I needed to go have this conversation with my dad. I booked the flight. I decided to fly down to Florida because I was like, for so long, I just blamed him, or I was pissed off, or I tried to tell everyone, yeah, look at this hard childhood I grew up with, but look how I overcame it. Look how I overcame it. And there was a lot of blame, but there wasn't any real, appreciation, gratitude, and joy in the experience. And so really, like, one of the things I do now is teach a lot on the art of fulfillment. And in order to be happy today, we have to really be able to go back to the past and not just say it is what it is or it happened, but to actually like release and let go our desire that we wish it was different. If we're still hoping and wishing for things to have been different, we're not going to be able to move forward in a really open, expansive place. So really getting to a place where you're like, man, I don't wish that was any different. I'm just going to honor and be so appreciative of the traits and the characteristics and all the experiences I had and all the goodness that he brought into my life. I mean, my love for travel and adventure, like, I'm a gypsy at heart because he took me to all these beautiful countries. He was driven. I got that part out of him. Yes, he was driven through pain, but I also saw a lot of goodness as well. And so, the drive, the ambition, the athleticism, the world traveling, like so much of, the curiosity about life really did come from there. And also the pain of the experiences was like essential, for me to go through my own process. And so, having that recognition that yes, it happened. I don't want it to be different, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I wouldn't be the person. I would be nothing like this. I have no clue, but I'm so grateful. Oh my God, I'm so grateful that I had the life I had. And, and I really am appreciative, and I have fond memories now of it. Even though there's yucky memories, I have good fond memories. And to be able to go back and have that conversation with my dad is, just sitting there and talking about it. It's emotional. It was emotional for me. to be honest, my dad's still really uncomfortable whenever we talk about anything emotional because he's still in that space. He hasn't recovered. He's still an addict. He still wakes up, and I think he's drunk when he wakes up, and he's confined to a chair. He can hardly get up. And when I was there, he was falling and he couldn't get up. One of the neighbors had found him on the ground, and who knows how long he'd been there. Like, we're now afraid he's going to fall and not be able to get up. But we have some loving conversations where we're together, and I could see that his heart's breaking, that he wishes things were different, but he's just so deep entangled that, I mean, all I can do is love him where he's at right now, because I can't wish and hope for him to change. He's not going to.
So when you spoke to him, do you feel like it penetrated, or was there still too much either alcohol or denial or pain or resistance? When you're presented, when your child comes to you, when someone that's super close to you comes to you and says, I need to speak with you about some things that are important to me and that happened in my life, and they're just not ready, right, to take all this in. Right. How much of that do you think penetrated when you had and what did you say? Curious.
I don't remember verbatim the conversation, but I will say that I'm a very open book. I don't have trouble communicating my feelings. And even as a child, I wrote my dad a lot of letters about his alcoholism, did studies on liver disease and presented them to him and asked him to stop drinking and begged him. And, so it wasn't something that was not spoken about, but I think it was just going back was really, I told him the truth. I watched this. I told him about the documentary. I said to him, Dad, I've always blamed you. I've always hated you. I've always been angry at you. And it was really about honoring, not giving him an out, but also recognizing that I also saw him as a wounded child. That, Dad, I don't know why you chose the path you chose, and I don't know why you make the decisions you do. And it breaks my heart to see you this way. It really does. But I want you to know that I know pain. I know suffering. I know what abandonment feels like, because that's actually how I've felt for the last 35 years of my life, or 38 years. And, I didn't need my dad to leave me when I was 3, because you emotionally left me and I felt abandoned. We had the same story, and I'm not here to blame you, but I'm here to actually tell you that I love you. I know the pain. I care about you. I want to thank you for making me the woman I am. And I want you to know that I still love you. And I would love, I would love to find a way to help you, but you got to want this for yourself. And I wasn't there to change him or to drive him to AA meetings or anything like that. We've done all that many times. Unfortunately, he didn't choose that path, but I just wanted him to know, because I think sometimes as an alcoholic for so long, you just don't feel like anyone gets you.
Yes.
And you don't think anyone else recognizes the pain that you've been through, the pain that you experience. And I may not know your story, but I know what pain feels like. So, I think if we can resonate with people on that level, it softens a spot where for a while he did try to make some changes, but I wasn't down there with an agenda to change him.
No.
I was down there with an agenda to just tell him honestly that I loved him, and I wanted to go to release him and to release myself, because I honestly don't know when he's going to go. Like, I'm always like, I could wake up tomorrow and he's gone, And so I want him to leave this place knowing that he was really loved, regardless of all the mistakes he made or didn't make. And I wanted to know that I was loved by him, and I know that I am, and that I'm happy that I'm the woman that I am today, because I wouldn't be this way without him in my life. So,
that's the beautiful part of healing. That is the best part about healing, when we recognize that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And this is just a generational circumstance. And guess what I get to do? I get to break that generational dysfunction. And on top of that, what I went through emotionally brought out the best in me. It brought out the absolute best in me. And now I can take the best in me and I can bring out the best in others.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm just so proud of you. Honestly, I'm so proud of you because that is like some serious, you did the work, man.
Well, I was kind of saying, when I said that, I meant like us
Yeah.
as a group. But yeah, so yeah, but it's true. Yes, I'll
We
own
did the
that.
work. We did the work.
Yeah,
We
we did
all
the
own it.
work.
But
Yeah.
like, it's so true. But it's so, you're bang on, right? So,
It's what happens is I get on a call with somebody, and within 4 sessions, there's this dramatic shift that happens. And the way they talk, the way they look, the things they say, how they say them, it's like, I'm right there. I know what happened to you in your childhood. I know what happened. I know the way that you say
yeah.
that is the way that you were talked to, right? And
Mhm.
I start to reframe. I start to readjust. I start to bring massive awareness. Like, we're doing this together, but I'm so fucking good at what I do
Own
that,
it, baby.
yeah, but here's the cool thing about that. There was a time where I blamed my mother and I blamed my father and I blamed every horrible thing that happened to me on somebody else. And that did shit for me. What it did was it pushed me into addiction and pushed me into more alcohol. It pushed me into avoidance and denial and blame and being small. And it didn't serve me at all. Right? And
No.
so, and one day was like, do you realize that it's through this, through what you went through and the choices you made afterwards, right, that allow you to really, like, I don't know if I could be this great. I don't know if I could be this. I don't know if I could help this many people if I
If you
wasn't.
hadn't gone through the war, man, you had to go through the trenches. I mean, nobody likes to talk about the battle victory without the battle. So the battle is what makes it great. And not that we want to keep having these crazy ones, but we got to expect to have some, you know? And so, yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Even as not, I think as someone going through that and having been put through a bunch of crap, it's so easy to fall into a victim mindset. But the minute you even start to hear that music playing, you got to get the hell out because it's a slippery slope.
And I will, and talk about surrounding yourself with the right people, right? I'm married, a no nonsense, no tolerating bullshit, whining, like Viking warrior princess woman who is
Nice.
just, who also went through her struggles,
Yeah.
right? So she comes out the other side. And, what's amazing is, I mean, if I even start to go that, oh man, there was this,
Poor me.
wow. So you're going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to go there, right? And I'm like, whoa, nope. And
Yeah. Nothing pretty happens there.
nothing pretty happens there.
No,
No.
nothing pretty happens there.
And you can get lost in there. You can get lost in there, and it's dark and it's lonely and it's miserable and it stinks. So there really, it's what I want to believe. It's at the end of the day, it's what I want to believe. Do I believe that all these horrible things happen to me and that's all there is? Or do I believe that, wow, everything that happened to me is for a reason? And if I
Mm-hmm.
believe that everything happened for me, then I can use
Mm-hmm.
every single moment, every experience, everything that's happened to us, right? We come out of it. And I say it, I came out of Viking. There's nothing that I can't go through
Love it.
where alcohol is even remotely an option for me, where drugs is even remotely an option for me. I cannot get through anything without being 100% present and focused.
I love it. Battle ready, baby. Battle
Ooh,
ready.
man, I'm like in state.
We got to do the training to be battle ready. What the heck? You can't be thrown into battle if you haven't done the training. Like, that's just, you know.
That
Uh,
100% green. Yeah, you didn't become a green beret, right? By having
no.
coffee, right, at the local coffee shop and talking about, you know what I mean? Oh, the poor me's, right? It was like there is no time for weakness. There's no time for fear. There's no time for any. It's Let's
And
go.
like I always say, like you hear this too, but we got to be careful what we pray for and careful what we ask for. Because I believe, I say I do a lot of prayer, as I said, and I'm like, God, if I want to become a freaking kick-ass parent, and I'm like, God, make me an amazing parent. Guess what I get? I get challenges as a
Mhm.
parent that I have to deal with that are testing me to navigate. How am I communicating to my kids? How am I going to step up on this one and lead them? If I say I want to be a great leader for my business and I want to grow my business, it's like I get tested. I get tested to see how I handle the growth. Can I handle the change with the teams? Am I ready for what God is about to give me? And if I got to prove that I'm ready.
Oh man, that is solid. That is,
So
oh man, those challenges are just like, oh yeah, you think you're ready?
they're
Let's find
tests.
out,
They're
right?
just tests. And if you want to get the reward without the test, what the hell? It's no reward because it's available to everyone.
Oof, man, I hope rewind that, listeners. If you didn't catch that power, go back and listen again because that's truth. That is truth. There is no story without a struggle. There is no reward without adversity. There is no fucking championship ring without putting in hours and hours of work and struggle and focus and change and mindset change. It's all these different things that we have to do, right, to be able to earn it. Nothing
Yeah.
comes for free.
I'm not a UFC fan, but I know some guys that are really into it. And I know this, they wouldn't like to watch the fight if it was a clear win.
No.
One punch and it's over. I don't think that would make for a good championship game at all.
But we do like watching one of those beautiful one knockout.
Yeah.
Because that's the
But
thing
what
about
about all the
MMA.
work that got up to
Oh,
that
no.
place, right? Yeah. Oh.
All the different types of martial arts that you have to learn. That's a beautiful example of mixed martial arts. I can't watch boxing. It bores me. But
Yeah.
mixed martial arts, I love it because of all the diversity. But there is nothing like watching one of those guys who is just a beast and he comes out and there's the other guy that's been talking shit for like I don't know how long, right? And he gets hit with just the perfect left and he goes down like a stack of pancakes, right? And you're like, damn. Take
Yeah,
that.
he didn't just manifest that shit. I'm sorry. He worked on that, right? Well, he didn't. He didn't just go like, "Oh,
No.
give me the punch." It's like, baby. He did the mental work. He did the physical work. He did he had to get himself ready for that moment by lots and lots of tests. So
He probably saw it. If you ask him afterwards, oh, I saw it. I visualized it happening. I
I
walked
visual
out. And I was.
that's why I visualize every morning.
All right. So real
Yeah.
quick, because we're like flying through the time. I want to know about business mastery and that moment, right? I saw the picture of you and Tony and what I wouldn't give, right? To be in that moment, holding that mic, having Tony staring
Yeah.
at me and like just
Yeah.
coming at me. And it's like, oh, step into my greatness, right? So what was the question, right? And how did that all come? How did it all happen? Give us the whole play by play.
Well, I think I wasn't in this major intervention, but what happened was it was actually during so it was business mastery. So it wasn't Date with Destiny. We were there to grow our businesses. We did a lot of business psychology and we already talked about being the driven one, being the one that's like, hey, I'm driving, I'm going for success, growth. You're there. I'm committed. I'm doing the work. I'm sitting there with all these people. And he's going through a session around building your empire and building your wealth and what you'll commit to yourself, where you'll draw the line in the sand and what you'll commit to yourself, right? And so there's a couple things that kind of led up to this because he was taking us through a bunch of exercises around, what our money beliefs were and how we have money is just an example of how we play out our worth in many ways, right? And so money has been a challenge in my life for many years. There was a lot of loss and gain, like peaks and valleys. I saw my parents gain everything and lose everything, have the bank take our house, end up living sharing a bed with my mom in a 2-bedroom place and having to, her working at the church on the prayer line midnight till 6 a.m. to keep things afloat. So I saw a lot of loss and a lot of scarcity. And so I saw everything that is quickly given is quickly taken away. And so operating out of this sort of fear, lack, scarcity mindset for so many times, really driven, making money has never been a problem. Keeping it is another story. Maybe some of you can relate. But so there was 2 pieces of this that came into this. Number one was that I realized, holy shit, like I got to break this pattern. Where is this coming from? This is coming from this deep rooted, pattern that I watched someone else use as their operating system that somewhere along the line I adopted. So I need to let that shit go. But the second piece, which was a huge breakthrough for me, was really recognizing that in watching my mom and how she was as the partner of an alcoholic, as you can, probably a lot of your listeners can relate to if they're married to or been in a relationship with someone, is that when you're verbally abused for so long, it just eats away at your self-worth till you feel like you're not worth a speck of dirt under somebody's foot. And, seeing my mom, who was this woman with a PhD, really intelligent from Europe, marry my dad, and literally just her whole self-esteem get destroyed, seeing her get walked all over, financially have nothing to rely on. When he left, her whole financial picture was destroyed and to this day has not recovered. Again, there was a part of me that rejected that so much. When I saw her go through it, not only was like, there's no fucking way I'm not going to be my dad, but there's no fucking way I'm going to be you either. And I did everything I could to get away from being weak, being dependent, being needy on anyone else. I really grew a shell that I was always very vibrant and energized and passionate, but only so much, like this whole thing of like operating, I swung so far to this independent place that I could do anything. But right away, if I was like, I'm going to accomplish this thing with my fitness, it was like, how am I going to do that? Me alone. I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure out. I'm going to start a business. Great. I'm going into business. It's going to be my business. We're doing it my way. We're launching a new project. We're doing it my way. It's going to be my idea. So it was always like me, because I was terrified that if I depended on anyone else, they were going to fuck it up or fuck me over.
Yeah.
Mostly fuck it up, and then also that it wasn't safe to do that. Right. And so I realized in that moment, as Tony was asking these questions, was like, what's your drawing the line in the sand? What's gotten you up to this point? And we were talking about what's gotten us up to this point isn't going to be what's going to get us to where we want to be. So what got me to the point that I was at today was this like fierce independence, this drive, this ambition, which is great. But I realize now the threshold, what was getting me stuck, when he was like, are you going to draw the line in the sand? What is really the fucking problem? How Tony is like, what's the fucking problem? The problem is me. The problem of why I'm not able to or wasn't able to grow my business to where I wanted it to be or invest at the levels I want. Because I've already like done some, commercial real estate investments. Now I have a successful business from 10 years. Like business is good. I've done a lot, but I was hitting the ceiling and I was like, what the hell? What is going on? I knew that I wanted to make a commitment. I wanted to stand up and say, I'm going to commit to putting 30% of my income into this wealth investment fund. And I was like, how the hell am I going to do that? And it was really like, I got to release this part of me that is rejecting my mom. I got to release this part of me that is not going to be dependent on anyone else, in the sense that I got to learn to lean on and become interdependent. So if I want to really grow my business, I got to now develop the right relationships with the right people who are going to not only support the business, but help me scale it, who are going to challenge me to think and grow it on a different level. It's really like, who are the people? Where are the places I need to expand and connect? Like, I need to do this in union and find this beautiful state of interdependence. And really also, again, that aha moment of with my partnership, it's like, I can't be this great fierce independence is a beautiful thing, I don't need you, but I want to need you, you know, and I need to need you sometimes. And this whole thing of like two is so much better than one. And we have so much more exponential power to create this compound effect in our lives of just love, wealth, relationship, health, experiences. It's just this compounding effect will come into place when I can let go of this need to be so fiercely independent, honor the drive, honor the passion, honor the grit, honor the perseverance, be hungry, but also be okay with going, okay, I need you. I need the people sitting next to me in this room right now to lean on, to exponentially grow. And so it was just a huge moment when it was like, you know, what has gotten you to this place that is now gonna choke you? And that was it, was rejecting my mom.
That
in me.
is, yeah. Yes.
It
Yes.
wasn't about rejecting my dad anymore because I had let that shit go. But I didn't realize the effect that and I was never willing to face it because I always looked at her as a super loving, caring, sacrificing woman. But what I'm going through so much healing right now about this because there are so many parts of my feminine, of my just potential that I have just shut off like a tap. I just shut that thing so tight because I wasn't willing to go there, because I wasn't willing to have that even be a remote part of me. And now it's like I've opened the taps wide open. It is just like flooding out, baby. All kinds of shit is coming up now since I had that moment. And it's been, there's a lot of things coming up now that are pretty awesome. So it was like I felt this weight of an elephant step off my chest.
Well, the
and
first
love just pour back in.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. And I was going to say, it was like this weight, this pressure that was on my chest comes off. And it was like all this light and love come pouring back in for myself. Not only that I can do this, I'm worthy, but like I am designed to create this life with other people, not by myself.
And I think that when we go against what is the natural order, because I'll call that in this particular case, I'll call that the natural order. We weren't designed to do things alone.
Mm-mm.
Because if it's
we try though, don't we?
And we have to just we just have to submit to our baser instincts, because this is all part of, like, in the beginning, when there was this idea of there needs to be a filling of the earth, so to speak, however you want to look at that. But if there was even a small part of us that's independent and okay with independent, then we all find some mountain, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take this mountain, right? You take that mountain, and I'm cool. And at some point, like, how do we continue to grow as a species? We can't. So instinctively, genetically, we are designed to be together. And the independence is more of a protective shield that we design. We create the whole warrior princess and the whole idea of, like, it's not just about proving that I can do it alone. It's also about worrying about getting fucked over. So,
yeah, it's like, am I going to be that warrior that's just out there by himself swinging the blade, getting exposed? Or am I going to really build the tribe to go out with me? And we got each other's backs. And much truth in that. And also to that, one last thing I wanted to say about that too is, the wake-up call was this interdependence and really being okay with, the word vulnerability gets thrown around so much nowadays. And I'm like, I'm totally okay with the word neediness. It's like, it's funny because I'm talking about all my dating stories here. This is great. This is like a total relationship unfolding. But
I love it.
It was funny because for so many years, all the men I dated were like, you're too independent. You're too independent. You're too independent. And then most recently, I had been with someone and I was like, I'm totally letting this guard down. And he was like, oh, you're needy, because I talked about my needs for once. And I was like, yes, I am needy. And it feels really good because, like, there's nothing wrong with us having needs, and it's okay to need each other. And interestingly, this person was going through their own journey, kind of like with the shield of independent armor going on. That it's funny how we meet people kind of at the same place as us sometimes, and we both need to learn the same lesson or in different ways or whatever. But it was just really this like opening up of that. But so that was number one. But the second thing, just real quick, looping back to that story about my mom and seeing somebody get totally destroyed with their self-esteem, is also part of that independence. I think comes a lot from like the guilt and shame of like not wanting people to know or see, or like you want to have this idea like everything's okay, and there's like so much embarrassment or shame, like something's wrong with you or something. I don't want to let people know that there's potentially could be something wrong with me, or I don't want to go down that road and be a victim, so I'm just going to reject it. So in sometimes we're trying to do something really good, but our subconscious is still doing it out of a place of shame, if that makes sense. Like we're still reacting because we're embarrassed about something, instead of just being able to be like, yo, this is me. This is all of me. Love me or hate me. Pick one. I'm good with either.
Well, sometimes we become very, very strong because we watch someone around us become very, very weak. And you get to a point where you just are disgusted by weakness.
Oh, that was me.
Okay.
Totally. And God forbid if anyone showed a sign of weakness in my life, again, especially my relationships, God forbid if a man showed a sign of weakness, I was like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, which is not very supportive and very emasculating, by the way, ladies, if you're listening to this and you want a sure way to kill your man, just do that.
No, but we just have to change the language around it.
Yeah.
And as we get
totally.
to, that's the beautiful thing about coaching, is that at some point you can change the words and what weakness means to me, right? And is there actual weakness in my life, or is it just my ability to be open and honest, for me to allow someone else to love me, allow someone to nurture me and care for me, which is another very instinctual need that we all have. It doesn't go away just because we're not babies anymore.
Exactly. Just having someone to hold the space for you to just
Yes.
be you and just hold that space.
Because otherwise, then this warrior princess is constantly on the alert and sabotaging all the relationships. Oh, he said this. That's troublesome.
Loser.
Yeah.
Right.
He asked me what? No. We're not answering that question. Stay back there.
Yeah.
Okay. You stay back there. We're not answering that question. And all of a sudden I have this wall, because that's what they're called. They're called walls. You can call it anything you want. But I have some sort of fierce protector that's preventing me from getting hurt, but it's also preventing me from really enjoying what life is all about. What is it that we all crave the most? Love and connection.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is also we put these crazy expectations on this partner. We put these expectations that they can't possibly live up to. And really the expectations are there because we have them on ourselves. And so because we can't give ourselves any grace or compassion, and we have these unrealistic expectations of our own performance and how we got to be and how we got to show up, that if anyone else even starts to fall short of those expectations, it's just extremely stressful and we won't tolerate it. And so it's, man, there's some work to do here, but it's beautiful when we start to really appreciate and appreciate ourselves and give ourselves some grace. We're able to love others from a totally different perspective.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Amen, brother.
All right. So Christine, we're going to start closing down. So I'm going to ask you
Yes.
some of the closing questions, but before we do, for the very strong women, and maybe not even the very strong women that are listening to this podcast right now, and there are many. I have a very, very strong and large following of women that listen to the podcast. How can these women reach out to you, find you, your websites, like what is it what's the easiest way for them to contact you?
So the easiest way is to go to my website at christineline.com. There's a couple ways you can connect with me there, but really I have a free masterclass on the high performance habits and some of the coaching that I have, so they can go ahead and sign up for that masterclass if they're interested in that. You can also find me on Instagram under the handle Christine Line. And those would probably be the two easiest ones. Also on Facebook, but I'm not quite as active on Facebook on my business profile. So I would say go to the website or find me on Instagram.
So is a free masterclass just for women, or is it for men and women?
For men and women.
Okay.
So the masterclass I offer is a online training on mastering the key habits of high performance. So what are the things that are bottlenecking you right now that you're going to need to really break through to get to the next level? And so there's some real application there. You'll walk away with some action steps you can implement right away to get some momentum, like today.
Like imagine, one of the things I learned in my mastermind, I recently joined M1.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned there that I'd heard, I've had this book. I don't know if you can notice it, but if you look, it's older than mummy dust. Okay. So it's The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T.
Yes,
Harv.
love that book.
Okay?
Great book.
When I open it, there's actually underlining inside the book. Okay. I don't remember when I bought it or when I started reading. I've been carrying it with me for years, but it was around the time when I first picked up Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was this, I mean, I've been on this trajectory for at least 20 years. So, this book, I've carried it around with me, and it came up when I joined the mastermind. And one of the most basic premise there was you pay yourself first.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, of course I pay myself first. Do you? Or do you pay the electric bill, the car payment, the mortgage, the kid's school, do you really pay yourself first?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you pay everything else first? And then whatever's left over, I put into savings, which always ends up being nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like this light bulb went on and was like, can you just imagine if it was just something as simple as you had the wrong mindset about once the paycheck comes in, who gets paid first? Something as simple as that, or the fact that, right, I don't want to be like my mother, or I don't want to be like my father. Can you imagine if it's just something so simple as I have this limiting belief about what could happen or what might happen, and so I just spend the money as quickly as I can before it can affect me? Because there's, for me, it was this mindset of like, what happens? Like, I used to think that it was because I was helpless, like not having money meant, like I was helpless. But what I found out is the less money I had, the more help I would get. Help from my mom, help from my sister, help, it's like less money I have, the more connected I feel. The more money I have, the more pressure I feel. The more I am now no longer needy. And it was one of these things that I started working through. I was like, oh my God, really?
Where's my love and connection? Where's my love and connection? My love and connection only comes when I'm needing money and I'm struggling. Yeah.
There is significance in helplessness and weakness.
Yes, 100%. I could totally relate to that.
Because what happens when you're on top? They say it's lonely at the top. And, people like buy into it, and not even buy into it. It's a subconscious thing where it's like, yeah, it is lonely up here. And I actually like pick up bills now. Like, oh my God. And instead of like,
we have to get our significance from something else.
Right. Well, now it's like, I enjoy picking up the tab. I
Yeah.
enjoy paying myself first. I pay myself first. Like all these different incantations and affirmations that come after the fact, you have to clear all the other shit first, because otherwise it's just what they talk about, like Tony says, right?
Hmm.
Affirmations without belief are useless.
Without legs. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
because
They're
I
just like colorful sticky notes all over the place that are a pain in
yeah,
the ass.
you got to
I
drop
love,
something first.
yeah. That's why I
Okay,
don't like vision boards. Okay.
no. Okay, so let's start moving. All right, so let's go into the limiting beliefs. So, as a coach, I hear stories all day long about how I can't do this because, or I will be, once I achieve this, I'll be happy. They learn and pick up patterns from role models in their life, not realizing that they are now in charge of their own story, which we've already touched
Mm,
on. I don't even know if it's different, but what is the story you used to tell yourself, your biggest limiting beliefs, and what is it that you believe now?
I would definitely say the one that I burned to the ground most recently. So we'll talk about that one because I've been doing some deep work on this. And this is like, whew, feels so good. Is I used to have this belief that like no one, what do I have to offer? I don't really have anything unique, different, special that hasn't already been done. Like why will people want to listen to me? Like where, if I build it, will they come? They probably won't come, you know, and these sort of like subconscious fears around and like opening my business and creating my retreats. You know, that's another way people can get involved with me is come to my retreats. I host 2 to 5 day retreats. And you know, as I was building these things, I would have all this like anxiousness welling up, like total freak out factor that, oh my God, no one's going to want to come. And should I charge this much and whatever? And now I'm just like, girl, I don't even like, it's so cool. You know, it's not a limiting belief when it passes right through. Like
Mm.
your muscles don't tense up anymore. There's no tension. It's like, if I say that now, will anyone think what I have to say is valuable? It's like, I actually expand. My body opens up. So I know that limiting belief is gone because I don't feel the pressure. My physiology doesn't accept it anymore. It passes right through me. And so that's how you know, by the way, people, if you think you've dealt with a limiting belief, if you say that thing and it still physically manifests in your body as neck tension, chest tightness, shortness of breath, you still got work to do there. So you need to deal with that shit. So, but that one now is like, oh my gosh, I know the work I do is life changing. And I've heard this from multiple people. Like you said, when you work with clients, there's that moment where all of a sudden, like, and I always record my calls as well because I want my clients to see their whole energy changes. They look like a different person. And so, you know, I know hands down, like it is life-changing work we're doing. I am doing the right work with the right people who are ready. Number one, I spent many years trying to convince the wrong people who weren't ready. And what I say
Mm.
now is, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm not here to motivate people. People, I'm here to find the ones that are already motivated, who are hungry to do the work. And that's where we go. And so it's so exciting for me to be in this space and work with people who are hungry and motivated, because I know we bring incredible value. So I'm on to building great things and charging what I'm worth for it, because I know it's life changing, and it's really priceless when we can start to change the trajectory of our life.
And really, that is the key element in personal development, especially when it comes to coaching. The changes happen so fast and they happen so big that this is not something where, like therapy, where I've had my therapist for
For
you know
years.
15 years, for
Oh my
10
God.
years. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, right? Like you don't.
Yeah.
That's one thing you probably won't hear in the future. I've had my coach now for like 10 years now. Because what you do is you have these massive breakthroughs and you go out and take action.
Yeah. And I
And
will say to that, like, you know, actually, I don't know about for you, but a lot of my clients have said, like, Christine, holy shit, like, it's not like you're having me overhaul everything. You're usually doing 1%
yep.
shifts. I'm like
Hmm.
changing this one tiny thing,
Hmm.
but it changes my whole life.
Yes.
And it's like another time. So it's not these massive shifts, it's just massive change that happens. So that's the beautiful thing for people who are kind of on the other wine going, oh shit, I got to change everything. Oh, I'm not ready. That makes me
Nope.
nauseous. I want to vomit. It's like, baby, don't worry. We got you covered. But we're going to challenge you just enough to create that little shift, but the results are going to be massive.
Beautiful. That's that. And that is it in a nutshell. That is it in a nutshell. And it's just, and it's these beautiful little 1 millimeter shifts that all of a sudden you're having your dialogue changes immediately.
Immediately. Yeah.
And it's really the dialogue that is really the nemesis, right? It's like, what is the story you've been telling yourself? And when that changes, like you said, it passes right through you. I've had that experience with so many things. And like you said, like I'm in that one right now where it's like, it's not passing through me. And I'm using every resource I can, every person I know, it's just a constant. We're just going to keep working on this thing until it just goes right through me.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
but
wind.
we do not stop until we reach the top.
I like it.
All right. So, okay. Let's see here. Tell us about an aha moment. Oh, no. Wait. This is my favorite one, Tony Robbins, right? So where was that moment, right? So I love it when Tony talks about, burning the boats. To take the island, you got to burn the boats. So not one more day, not one more minute, not one more hour. I'm not going to tolerate this in my life, right? So what was that pivotal moment in your life when you turned it all around? When that happened for you, when you burned the boats, and what made the difference for you?
Well, I think we have multiple ones, to be honest, but I think a big one for me in, let's call it adulthood, was in 2000 and I don't even know now, 2009, when I got divorced and I was with my 3 kids living with a girlfriend, really like not knowing how I was going to make ends meet, literally had no money. My car had broken down. I couldn't get approval for no one would approve me for even a $5,000 loan. We were in a bad mess with our credit. My ex-husband would not pay me. He basically said to me, I'm going to financially and emotionally destroy you. And he came from a family that was worth, at that time, about $30 million. And that was a very scary thing to hear, especially when I felt totally like someone else was holding the strings. And I was like, oh my God. And, everyone was like, you have to fight it. You have to fight it. You get what you deserve, like go after him. And and I was like, no, I'm going to draw the line in the sand. I am not going to let him steal my emotional well-being. I'm going to redirect my energy into something that is going to expand me. And I sold my wedding ring, which at the time, the diamond, I had a friend who was a jeweler. I took the wedding ring to him. It was the only thing I had of any worth. I had nothing. Like, I didn't even have furniture. Like, okay. And he took the diamond. He goes, Christine, I'll give you $4,000. And I was like, okay, I can either pay for groceries and rent and all that stuff, or I can put first and last month's rent down on my business. And so that's how my business started. In 2010,
Wow.
I decided that basically covered first and last month's rent on a commercial unit where I decided to open my health and wellness studio. And I remember I did not have the money to pay for signage. So I had to negotiate back and forth for the landlord to put some kind of sign up temporarily. We only started with yoga mats and Swiss balls because I couldn't afford any equipment. So we did body weight training, and I just took a gamble, and I was like, you know what? It's either going to fail or it's going to go. But if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it forever. And just making that, throwing the dice on myself in that moment was a game changer.
Oh, man. I'm so glad I asked that question. What an aha moment.
Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah. So needless to say, a lot has changed in the last 8 years, but I talk to so many women who are coming out of abusive situations or scary situations where they were financially dependent on someone, where they needed to depend on that person for money. So they don't move, they don't take action because they're terrified. So actually, one of my contribution areas of work I'm really looking to grow and expand with is really helping women to rebuild their self-esteem and confidence after dealing with trauma, abuse, and to rebuild themselves. Because girl, you can get out there and you can just start from literally next to nothing. You can sell something, you can find something. And if you just believe in yourself just enough to roll the dice, that's all you need.
Wow.
That's all you need.
Rolling the dice. Rolling the dice with Christine Line.
Rolling the dice.
God, I kind of like that as a title. All right. So this is similar. This might, but that was the burning the boats moment. So tell us about an aha moment in your life when you realized you were now moving in the right direction.
I think honestly, again, you have so many, but that was definitely a burning the boats moment where I knew like, there's no fucking way. Like I am done letting other people control my destiny, right? Like I am really taking the reins. But honestly, I think it's the aha moment has actually come recently in the last year or so, but I do a lot of time in prayer and meditation, as I mentioned, and I'm always asking God to show me what a yes feels like and what a hell no feels like. And whenever something big is coming up for me, as it is even right now, recently, I'm actually going to be heading down to South America in a few weeks to do some personal work and do some retreats and expanding this side of the business, which is the high performance coaching. And I spend a lot of time in meditation. Does God want me to move forward in this direction? And I just recently was in a beautiful meditation praying actually at the top of a mountain. And I just felt this huge push. If this is too woo-woo for some of you, this is just the way I roll. But I just felt this huge push or a pull just drawing me forward, knowing like this. And I was walking in the direction I needed to, physically being walked in the direction I needed to go. And then again, when I asked were other things that I needed to work on, it was a clear no. I was getting pulled back away from it. So right now I'm in a season of my life that I'm really leaning into God heavily to guide every single step I make. And it is just, the floodgates are opening, baby.
I am 100% on board. 100% on board. That is part of my morning practice too, is trying to elicit that intuition, that connection with source, with spirit, with God, like really channeling that energy. It's like, am I moving in the right direction? I love what you say there. Is it a hell yes, or is it a hell no? And I'm wide open.
And honestly, if we're just still enough, long enough to be patient for God to show us physically what it feels like, you'll get a very clear feeling in your body of what that is. Most of us are too impatient to just feel it. We got to get out of our head. And I love what we did at the start of this call where you said, I'm going into my ego. Hold on, let me reconnect.
Yes.
With the source, because it's so true. Whenever I start to make decisions and I'm reacting or I'm like, oh shit, I better pull back because I'm about to go down a dangerous path where I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. I'm going to do something I'm going to regret. And let me just reconnect. And so I honor you and I appreciate you for doing that before we started this podcast, because it's something that I do before I get on the phone with every client as well, which is like, God, just send me the right words right now, because I have an agenda, but like if you have a different one, then by all means, that's the path we're taking. So it's really tapping into that spirit.
Yes. And more importantly too, I know instantly when I need to reel it in.
Reel it in.
Like all of a sudden I feel it. Like I felt it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh boy, I see it happening right now. Yeah. So, and if you can just connect with that gut feeling, that instinct, when you recognize that something's off for whatever reason, all you got to do is ask for help.
Oh, that's the whole thing. That's interdependency, right? Dependence.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Look at my hands, my hairs are literally standing. I just got goosebumps. HP, baby.
Yeah, baby.
All right. HP baby stands for higher power. So just for, I know you're not 12 steps. I'll throw that out at you. All right. So, oh my goodness, quickly. Do you have any favorite books you would recommend to our listeners?
Real quick. First of all, a pivotal one that I loved. The first one that got me thinking about really going to personal growth was Thinking for a Change by John Maxwell. It just started to change the way I was thinking about things in general. So I love that if you're starting off and you're like, it's an easy chapter per thing. Another one that I loved just to shift my perspective on life was On Fire, The 7 Choices to Ignite a Radically Inspired Life by John Leary. And that is just a beautiful, incredible story. And damn, if you need some perspective in your life and you're playing the violin, pick up this book because it will shift your state and current reality. And then finally, I just have to go back to the ultimate book, which in my eyes is the Bible, because I study a lot of different religions and I've studied a lot of different philosophers and I've read a lot of personal development books. My bookshelves are full of them. I have more books than anything else. And most things I read and most things I study are in the Bible. They were already written so long ago. And so for me, it's just really grounding to know that, hey, we're not having to reinvent the wheel. Actually, we think we might be, but we're not. And a lot of these ancient scriptures, and to me, the Bible is my source, it's the source, it's the water, it's the well.
Beautiful. I love it. I like great suggestions. On Fire. All right. So what are your 3 most powerful I am statements?
Well, right now I just have one that I am revisiting every single morning. I'm still in bed and I'm just like, I am created in love, by love, to be love. Oof. And so I'm like, that is some powerful shit because I am created by the creator who created the most beautiful things ever, like the most magical artist. So I'm a piece of art. You're a piece of art. We're fine art. And so God knew what he was doing when he made us, number 1. Number 2 is I'm created by love, in love, which is I am loved completely. I'm whole just the way I am. I have a father, I have a husband, I have all that love in my life. And I'm here to be a light. I'm here to be a source for other people who maybe are searching, and just to be a reflection of what's possible, what it already exists within themselves if they're willing to go there.
Oof. That's beautiful. And that's really, that reminds me of the Merriam-Webster's famous quote, our biggest fear.
Yes, I love that. Ooh. That's I got that one. Oh, it's so good. Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Yeah, beautiful.
And that's that's part when we talk about purpose, right? Me playing small serves no one. Shine bright. Show people what's possible.
Yeah, so that others could be inspired, Yeah.
Love it. What is your personal success formula or blueprint for success?
I just really have one, is that I can do all things through Christ. And I'm really big on faith in general. Like it's really that I can do all things. Whether you believe in God or Christ is, to me, irrelevant, because I think a lot of ladders are leading to the same place,
totally.
To be quite honest.
Same here.
But I really believe that if we are just willing to meet God, if we're just willing to take the first step, he's already there. He just wants to see if we're willing to come.
And he's not, and you got to put in the work.
But I got to take the step.
Yes.
Right? Like he's willing to come my way, but he wants to know that I'm coming to him. And so I think like I can do all things. I know I can do all things. I've been given the tools, the talents, the abilities, the resources. There's no lack of that, but I gotta have faith. I gotta move forward, and seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing.
Ooh, that's a new one. I like that.
Believing is seeing. The minute I hear myself say I got to see it to believe it, I know I'm never going to see it.
Believing, visualize.
Believing is seeing.
Love it. All right. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Oh my God. I don't even know. This is a tough one. What's the best
Interesting.
advice?
Interesting.
Yeah. Do a lot of people struggle with this one?
No, only people that have been doing it themselves their whole lives.
Yeah.
The only
I just think, like honestly, I think that kind of to go with the personal blueprint for success, I will have to say my mom is the most beautiful soul. And to this day, almost on a daily basis, every morning, she will send me either a text or a scripture or a thought. She prays every morning for a couple hours, and it's always something to do with connecting to the spirit to find the answer. And I think that whatever way she always says it, it's the same thing that we just talked about a few questions back, which is don't try to understand with your own understanding or with your ego, but really seek to understand from a spiritual perspective, because when you do, everything changes. And I think that is definitely the best perspective. And anytime I step into that place, that's when the beautiful things happen in my life. Anytime I'm trying to figure it out on my own or get into my head or analyze or logisticalize, if that's a word, or whatever, it's like it turns into a hot mess really fast. So I think it's just like, yeah, lead with your spirit, lead with the heart.
Boy, you pulled that one out strong. Came out strong with that one. Okay, finally, and you might have used it up. What is one parting piece of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners?
I just want to share that you are not alone. Like, you're not alone. And there are times when we all feel alone or scared or afraid, but we're never alone. And so if you will just be courageous enough to reach your hand out and ask someone to lift you up when you are struggling, or ask God to lead you when you are confused, or just ask for guidance, find a mentor, find a coach, find someone who has, the path before you. And if you're not sure who to ask the universe, ask God, but the parting thing I have to say is that you are not alone. Everything you're feeling has already been felt by someone before. I guarantee it. Probably in this very moment, a million other people are having the same exact emotion you are. And so if you can recognize that and connect to the greater consciousness and really reach out in that moment, get yourself out, there are so many people that are already ready to love you and support you and guide you on your path of where you need to be.
Amen, sister. Again, preaching it strong. Christine's preaching strong.
Oh, I'm not trying to preach. I'm just sharing from the heart, baby.
It is. And
you are not alone. I am here. Okay, I don't sing, but I want you to listen to that song. When this podcast is over, I want you all to download that song. You are not alone. I forget who the artist is.
Michael Jackson.
Oh, it's Michael Jackson. How would I not know that? There you go. I'm going to listen to it when we get off the call.
Yeah, me too.
And then I'm going to dance. Okay.
All right. Christine, amazing interview. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me. I'm totally honored that you would consider me to be on your podcast and just spend the hour with me, or hour and a half, or whatever it was.
Rock star. Awesome. All right. Folks, we've now reached the end of our show. Thanks for joining us. And as we say here in Costa Rica, pura vida. Give us a pura vida, Christina.
Pura vida.
That was perfect.
Yeah, baby. I got some Latino in me.
Yeah, okay. You do. Yeah, you do. And that is a wrap.